Welcome to Stoic Golden Tribe, a place where men come to rebuild their strength, sharpen their minds, and rise above the noise of this modern world. If you're here, it means you're not just another man. You're becoming a man of depth, wisdom, and quiet confidence. Now, let's be honest. We live in a time where attraction is often confused with appearance, where men are told that being attractive means having abs, money, and a perfect smile. But that's not real attraction. That's decoration. True attractiveness goes much deeper than looks. It's built on self-respect, calm energy, and emotional control. It's the kind of presence that makes people notice you, not because you're loud, but because you move differently, think differently, and carry yourself like a man who knows his worth. Throughout history, the most magnetic men weren't the loudest. They were the ones who mastered their emotions, who spoke with purpose, and who walked with direction. From Marcus Aurelius to Bruce Lee, from ancient warriors to modern leaders, their power came not from appearance, but from discipline, purpose, and peace. So in today's video, we'll uncover 4 signs you're a highly attractive man, not from the surface level, but from the depths of true masculine strength. Each sign will show you a different part of what makes a man magnetic, in his silence, his standards, his vision, and his emotional power. If you're ready to discover what makes a man truly unforgettable, like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Golden Tribe. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know which of these signs you see in yourself and which one you're still working to build. Chapter 1. Sign number 1. You don't chase, you attract. Every man has been there, chasing someone or something that refuses to stay. We chase love, attention, validation, hoping that when we finally catch it, we'll feel whole. But here's the truth that only mature men eventually learn. The more you chase, the more you push it away. An attractive man understands that his value doesn't need to be proven. He doesn't beg to be noticed because his focus is on becoming noticeable. He's not desperate for attention, he's too busy building himself. And that quiet focus creates something magnetic that makes others come to him. Think about a lion. The lion doesn't run after every animal in the jungle. He moves slowly, confidently, knowing he's already the king. It's the same energy an attractive man gives off, calm, self-assured, and at peace with himself. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings." He meant that when we stop chasing the outside world for validation, we gain control over our inner world. And that inner peace? It's the most attractive quality a man can ever possess. In the modern world, you see many men chasing attention, texting constantly, over-explaining, posting to impress, trying to prove they're good enough. But the man who attracts knows one simple rule. You don't have to prove your worth when you already know your value. He focuses on his mission, his work, his body, his discipline. He invests his energy into his purpose instead of chasing people. And because of that, people naturally become drawn to him. They feel something different in his silence, a rare kind of power. Women are especially sensitive to this kind of energy. They can sense the man who doesn't need them to feel complete. And paradoxically, that's the man they crave most, the one who is content without their validation. So if you've stopped begging for attention, if you've learned to walk away from situations that no longer respect you, you've already stepped into the first sign of being a highly attractive man. Comment below. Do you believe attraction grows more from silence or from effort? Share your thoughts below. I want to hear your take. Chapter 2, sign number 2. You master your emotions, not the moment. Every man faces storms, heartbreak, betrayal, rejection, failure. Life has a way of testing your patience and shaking your heart when you least expect it. But here's the truth. It's not the storm that defines you, it's how steady you remain while it rages around you. An attractive man is not the one who never feels pain. He's the one who knows how to stand firm in the middle of it. He doesn't allow his emotions to rule his actions because he's learned that the man who can control himself can control anything. We live in a generation where emotional discipline is fading. You see men snapping on social media, begging for attention, fighting over words, letting their tempers destroy their peace. But the man who learns emotional mastery is different. He becomes unpredictable in the best way. People can't manipulate him, women can't confuse him, and life can't break him. Because when you can't be easily provoked, you become powerful. Your silence becomes a language that only wise people understand. When you stay calm in chaos, you send a message without saying a word. I am in control. The great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." He understood that emotions are not meant to be your masters. They are signals, guides, and teachers. When you listen to them without being enslaved by them, you begin to live from a higher place. Now think about a man in the modern world. Let's call him Daniel. Daniel went through heartbreak after giving his all to someone who didn't value him. He could have turned bitter, angry, or lost himself in distractions. But instead, he chose silence, growth, and peace. He hit the gym, worked harder on his goals, and healed privately. Months later, when his ex saw him again, stronger, calmer, focused, she realized something. He never needed revenge because he became the man she couldn't replace. That's the beauty of emotional control. When you don't allow pain to destroy you, it transforms you. You learn that peace is more powerful than rage. You learn that walking away with dignity is louder than any argument. And this kind of composure radiates attractiveness. People trust men who can stay calm when others panic. They gravitate toward you because you become an emotional anchor, steady, grounded, and real in a world full of impulsive chaos. When you master your emotions, you master the moment. And that means no situation, no person, no setback can define who you are. You may feel the pain, but you never let it change your purpose. You may be angry, but you never let it control your words. That's the kind of emotional maturity that makes a man unforgettable. Even in love, the man who controls his emotions wins differently. He doesn't try to prove his worth through reaction or drama. He knows that silence and distance sometimes speak louder than explanations. And women sense that. They feel that depth and stability in his presence. Because attraction isn't built from perfection. It's built from emotional strength, from the kind of peace that can't be shaken by rejection or loss. So, brother, remember this. You're not weak for feeling emotions. You're strong when you can face them and still choose peace over chaos. You don't need to fight every battle. Sometimes your calmness is the victory. Drop a comment below if you've ever realized that keeping your peace was more powerful than winning the argument. Your story might be the reminder another man needs today. Chapter 3. Sign number 3. You have standards that demand respect. Every man reaches a point in life where he must decide, will he live to be liked or will he live to be respected? The difference between average men and highly attractive men lies in this simple choice. An attractive man isn't built by chance, he's built by standards. He doesn't accept every friendship, every woman, every opportunity, because he knows that not everything aligns with his vision or his peace. He understands that saying no is often the most powerful thing a man can do. A man without standards becomes a man without identity. He bends to fit in. He tolerates disrespect just to feel loved. He agrees with what he doesn't believe in just to be accepted. And slowly, piece by piece, he loses the very thing that made him unique, his self-respect. But the man with standards, he walks differently. He's calm, confident, and certain, because he's not afraid to be alone. He knows that loneliness with peace is far better than company without respect. That's what makes him attractive, not just to women, but to the world. Think of Socrates, the ancient philosopher who chose death over betraying his principles. He stood by his beliefs, even when it cost him everything. And centuries later, his name still commands respect. Why? Because people admire a man who refuses to compromise his truth. In today's world, men are told to be flexible, easygoing, or nonchalant. But real strength comes from knowing where to draw the line. A man with standards says, "I don't raise my voice to prove my point. I don't chase people who disrespect me. I don't settle for what doesn't challenge or inspire me." That kind of mindset builds a presence that people can feel. You can see it in his eyes, that quiet certainty that he will not lower his value for anyone. It's not arrogance, it's awareness, because he knows the difference between being humble and being a doormat. Let's look at a real-world example. A man named Michael worked hard for years, helping everyone, always saying yes. He was kind, but constantly taken for granted. Then one day, he realized kindness without boundaries leads to exhaustion. He started setting limits, saying no when necessary, and walking away from people who drained his peace. At first, many left. But over time, the right people began to appear. Those who respected his energy, his focus, and his new sense of worth. That's when Michael learned something every man must understand. When you raise your standards, you change your circle. Even in relationships, a man's standards define his attractiveness. He doesn't tolerate disrespectful behavior or emotional games. He communicates clearly, but he doesn't beg to be understood. He knows that love without respect is a slow form of self-destruction, and because he values himself, he attracts women who value him too. A man's standards also apply to himself: how he eats, how he works, how he keeps his word, how he speaks to others when no one is watching. Because real standards aren't just rules for others, they are promises you make to yourself. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, said it best: associate with those who will make a better man of you. In other words, surround yourself with people who hold you accountable to your highest self. If you spend time with people who don't respect growth, you'll eventually forget what growth feels like. An attractive man builds his life like a fortress, with discipline as his foundation and standards as his walls. Not to shut people out, but to protect the peace within. He's not cold, he's just clear. He doesn't reject others, he simply refuses to betray himself for approval. So if you've started walking away from situations that don't match your energy, if you've learned to say no, even when your heart wanted to say yes, understand this: that's not weakness, that's evolution. That's a man rising above the noise, living by standards that demand respect. Drop a comment below if you've ever had to walk away from someone or something because it didn't meet your standards, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions of your life. Chapter 4. Sign number 4. Your purpose speaks louder than your words. There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes he was never meant to chase people, but to chase purpose. Because when a man finds his purpose, everything else starts to align. Purpose is the fire that fuels attraction. It gives direction to your silence, strength to your struggles, and meaning to every battle you've ever faced. A man with purpose doesn't wake up looking for motivation. He wakes up with mission. He knows that his time is sacred, his focus is valuable, and his energy is not for wasting on distractions. He walks with a calm fire in his eyes. Not loud, not boastful, but steady and determined. People can feel it when he enters the room. That's the kind of presence that speaks louder than words. Think about Alexander the Great. He wasn't just a warrior, he was a visionary. By the time most men his age were still trying to figure out who they were, Alexander had already united empires. What drove him wasn't power for power's sake, but the unshakable belief that he was born for something greater. Every great man, from ancient kings to modern leaders, was guided by that same inner compass. Purpose. It's what makes your struggles meaningful. It's what gives you patience during failure and discipline during success. Without purpose, a man becomes restless. He wanders from relationship to relationship, job to job, chasing moments of pleasure but never finding peace. He starts to feel empty because deep down he knows he was meant to build, to create, to lead. But the man with purpose, he's different. He doesn't need to talk about what he's doing. His actions tell the story. He doesn't boast, he builds. He doesn't argue for recognition because his results speak for him. That quiet focus, that relentless discipline, it's magnetic. It's the essence of masculine power. Even in love, purpose changes everything. Women can sense when a man has direction. They feel safe around him because his vision provides stability. He's not lost, he's not uncertain, he's moving towards something bigger than himself. And that kind of clarity makes him irresistible. But purpose is not just about career or money, it's about impact. It's about becoming the man your younger self would admire and your future self will thank. It's about building something that will still matter when you're gone. A legacy, a name, a principle. The Japanese have a word for this, ikigai, which means a reason for being. It's the sweet spot where your passion, talent, and values meet. When you discover your ikigai, life stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like destiny. Every morning, a man with purpose wakes up, knowing that he's not competing with others. He's competing with who he was yesterday. And every night when he rests, he doesn't count followers or likes. He counts growth, lessons, and peace. That's what makes him attractive. Not his looks, not his charm, but his direction. Because a man with direction doesn't get lost in distractions. He doesn't beg to be understood because he's too focused on becoming. So, if you've been walking your path quietly, fighting battles nobody sees, working late nights while others sleep, understand this: you're becoming a man of purpose, and that purpose is shaping your aura, your confidence, and your destiny. You may not have reached your destination yet, but as long as you keep walking with intention, the world will eventually recognize your fire. Because purpose is light, and light can never be hidden for long. Drop a comment below if you're walking your path right now, even when it's hard, even when nobody believes in you. Because one day, your journey will be the story that inspires another man to rise. A man's attractiveness is not in how he looks, but in how he lives. It's in his calmness, his discipline, his standards, and his sense of purpose. When you combine those four, you become rare. And when you become rare, you become powerful. So if you're working silently on yourself, keep going. If you're healing, learning, rebuilding, keep going. The world might not see it yet, but one day they'll understand why you never gave up. This is your reminder. You don't need to chase love, attention, or validation. When you stand tall in your purpose, everything meant for you will find you. If this message touched your spirit, like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Golden Tribe, where we help men rise higher, think deeper, and live stronger. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay focused, and always remember, your strength begins in silence.